Horst, it is time for another preview show. We're getting towards the end of the year, but we have a lot of big games to talk about.
Oh yeah, a ton of good games. Some big matchups. I know there's not technically league titles this year, but they're going to decide who's the best team in the league. So there's a lot of good games coming up to this Friday and Saturday.
Yep, a lot of good games to talk about. Let's get right into this. Ripon versus Escalon, Horse, two power teams. How you see this thing going?
You know, Ripon struggled a little bit this year to open the year. They're a young team. They're replacing almost all the starters off the state championship team last year. They were probably hurt one of the most around here by the lack of a preseason workouts and practice and all that. But they've made strides. They gave Manteca quite a game a couple weeks ago. They're led by a dual threat quarterback, Aaron Wood. He's dangerous. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball. He's a good playmaker. And then they also have a big-time receiving threat in Malik Taylor, who's a big-time basketball guy that's playing football for the first time. In his first game, he had 3 touchdowns receiving. He's a threat from anywhere on the field. With those two on the field, Ripon's going to be a problem for anyone.
Yeah, and then on the other side, Escalon has Ty Harris leading the way at the quarterback position and Luke Anderson on the ground. Those guys are going to be leading the offense and trying to get all the points they need to score. They had very good games, especially against Oakdale. They had a really good game against them, almost came out with the win, but couldn't quite get it done. And now they'll be looking to knock off Ripon. Tyler Medina will really be someone to watch on defense, and let's see how he does against Ripon.
Escalon has an explosive receiver in their own as well in Matthew Baptista. This should be two good offensive teams. Whichever defense can slow the other down first should win the game.
Horse, the Edison Soul Vikes are going to be playing the McNair Eagles. This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. Edison is absolutely rolling offensively right now. They're putting up Arena League football numbers. They're led by running back do-it-all guy Jalen Blackshear. They have another talented guy in LeJamian Sampson. They have a host of other skill players on that team. Up front, they have big guys like Zach Taamu. They have Jack Grinnell. Edison is a problem, and for anyone to have a chance to stay in the game with them, first you have to slow down that explosive offense.
Yeah, and tasked to do that are Josiah Scott, who plays inside the Rhino. We've talked about him a lot. Big defensive tackle. And Darius Bunn, the linebacker. He's going to have to get in there and make tackles. Bunn is super smart, and he can read things. He'll have to get in there and try to stop Blackshear, which isn't going to be easy for them. You know, and so I really am curious if McNair can stop Edison. And so far, it hasn't really felt like anyone can stop Edison. Now, as far as offense goes, McNair's going to have to get the ball into, people's hands in space. One of those, Aaron Ho, get him the ball in space, let him create. That is a way to get it going. Jonathan Norrie down the field had a nice catch last week, got about 34 yards, great play. So get these guys the ball in space and let them make plays.
Yeah, McNair. Don't let McNair's record fool you. That is a team full of playmakers.
Right.
And if they get it clicking, they could be a problem for anybody on their schedule. So they're one of those teams that it's too bad that it's only a 5-game schedule. But I feel like they're one of those teams that if they had a full 10 games by the end of the schedule, they'd be a problem.
Yeah, I think so. I think they have a lot of good players, so we're going to keep an eye on this one.
It should be exciting, and that scoreboard's lighting up.
All right, Horse. St. Mary's is playing Monterey Trail, and I have to admit, I can't wait for this one.
Yeah, a game that was announced about an hour before we filmed this. This is one of the biggest games of the year that's going to happen in this area. This is two teams that are always in contention for the section title. As a matter of fact, last year, Monterey Trail beat St. Mary's in the quarterfinals on their way to the section title in a great game.
We were there.
Monterey Trail was able to neutralize St. Mary's speed with their run game and slow the game down. And it's no different this year. Monterey Trail runs a veer option attack. If you've never seen it, think De La Salle. And they have 4 guys that really can run the ball. They're led by Othay Williams. They have Frank Arcuri, Ronnie Brutus, and Chris Lands. All 4 of those guys are great runners at the ball. Their offensive line does a great job. Then on defense, they're led by big linebacker Tanak Tonga and skilled defensive back and receiver Jamari Jackson. So St. Mary's better be ready. This is going to be their biggest test of the year outside of De La Salle.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge matchup, but St. Mary's does not lack talent. Jaden Marshall is going to be getting it done, catching the ball and on the ground, running fly sweeps and creative run plays. Jason Calvin, the young sophomore, will be getting the ball. He has so much speed. He's a little guy, but he can get it done. If he gets in the open field, he is gone. Great big runs against Central Catholic. And, of course, Tyree Washington getting the ball up the middle, causing problems, getting in the hole, out of the hole really quick. That guy is a solid runner. He makes plays every single week, and he's hard to bring down. So it's going to be a tough matchup for Monterey Trail's defense as well.
Yeah, this one's definitely going to come down to St. Mary's defensive front, slowing down that veer option attack. In the last meeting in the playoffs, they just could never get off the field in those 3rd and 4th and short situations, and Monterey Trail kept extending drives. This year, St. Mary's front has got to make more plays behind the line of scrimmage and get them into 3rd and 4th and long situations.
Yeah, Max Rascone is going to have to make some big-time tackles and try to stop this run game. That whole defense is going to have to step up.
This is going to be a good one.
Kimball versus Sierra. This is going to be a great game.
Yeah, both teams feature explosive offenses. They've both played really well this year, and both teams have a loss to Manteca. So there's that. Kimball's features one of the better athletes in the area in quarterback Nicolaus Coronado, big-time playmaker, threw for over almost 500 yards last week and 7 touchdowns.
Ridiculous.
He's a very good player. They also feature running back Alonzo Jackson, who's a big-time playmaker. And then they have receivers Eric Gordon Jr. and Mason Rivera that are both big-time playmakers out there. That's going to be tough to stop, but Sierra might match them.
Yeah, you're going to have to stop Kamoni Stanley. I mean, really, that's the number one goal for Kimball is stop him, because if he gets the ball out in space, he's going to the house. That's just plain and simple. This dude is one of the best runners in the area. He's dangerous. And then Ryan Borgeson is going to be throwing the ball, and he's going to get it out there. And we've already talked about him a lot this year because he's come out of nowhere. He's been making big plays for them.
Yeah, this is a game. Both these teams could drop 50 on you if you're not careful. This is another one of those light up the scoreboard, get your popcorn ready, and enjoy the game situations, because I think this is going to be a fun one.
Yes, offenses will be on display. Defenses are going to be in a world of hurt. It's going to be fun to watch. Here comes some really good football horse. Calaveras against the Sonora Wildcats.
Yeah, this should be a physical, well-coached football game. Expect to see a lot of hard-hitting, good, disciplined football. Sonora is led out by quarterback Bradley Coronado, who in his last game threw 227 yards and 3 touchdowns. And they also have big running back Clay Wooldridge, who had 91 yards and a touchdown on the ground. And big-time playmaker within one game, Gabe Milburn, had 7 catches for 205 yards and 3 touchdowns. So Sonora can definitely get it done, and Calaveras is going to have to slow those guys down to win the game.
Calaveras is coming off a big win against Argonaut last week, and part of that big win was head coach Doug Clark allowing a lineman to run the ball. They were down, and they gave Donovan Gregorio the ball, and he rushed it, horsed a bunch of times, and ended up scoring the game-winning touchdown. The coach had promised him that he would give him an opportunity to run the ball, and he did. He lived up to that promise and gave him the ball. And there are other great players. Jake Hopper is a great offensive lineman. He was creating holes on that drive. Jake Black scored a touchdown, and they have a brilliant sophomore, Braden Orlandi, who makes great plays for them.
You know, that lineman running the football is every guy that's played line's dream, and it's every line coach's nightmare, because now all the linemen are going to be asking to run the ball.
Oh, yeah. Of course, to quote the great Jim Ross, this is going to be one slobber knocker, because we have Oakdale versus Manteca.
Yeah, Manteca, Oakdale, one of the biggest games of the year every year. This year is no different. Both teams come into the game 3-0. Both teams are big, physical, tough teams with playmakers. Oakdale is led by the quarterback Jackson Holt and the running back Zeke Sapar. They also feature a big physical offensive line and a big physical defensive line and a fast defense that plays disciplined football. They are a very good team, but they have quite the test coming up here in the Manteca Buffaloes.
They do, because they're going to have to stop Lion Cologne, Khalid Robinson on the ground, plus Khalid Robinson will catch the ball also. And then you've got Chris Charles, who is a dual threat quarterback, and he will make it happen on the ground as well. These guys are going to be really hard to stop, and if you can't stop them, they're just going to keep running it over and over and over, and it just wears you down. These two teams know each other very well, so this is going to be a well-scouted game, and both teams are going to be playing well-disciplined. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and then the other problem with Manteca, if you do stop those two backs, which is extremely difficult, they have Blake Nicholson, another big-time playmaker that they can get the ball to running and throwing.
Yeah, he's looked nice catching the ball down the field. He runs the fly sweeps. You know, if Manteca gets the fly sweep game going, it spreads you horizontally, and then they can gash you up the middle with Lion Cologne and Khalid Robinson. So, yeah, you definitely got to be worried about that.
Yeah, it must be nice to be Manteca. You lose Trevon Russell and DeJesus, and you come up with Khalid Robinson and Lion Cologne.
Something in the water there in Manteca. horse, we have an absolutely huge matchup. Battle of the undefeated. This takes me back in the day. Lincoln undefeated, Lodi undefeated. Somebody's going to come up with a big win. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, the last time they played, Lodi and Lincoln played with this kind of thing on the line was back in 2005 when Lodi's coach was playing at Lodi. So this is a huge game. Both teams feature a lot of good players. Lodi's really going to come out and try to run the ball. They're a run-first team. They feature Christian Zamora, Caden Merriman, and Isaac Bishop as their lead ball carriers. They mix in a little bit of Adolfo Sanchez for speed. He's a problem on both sides of the ball. He plays a really nice corner as well. Up front is really where Lodi's been successful this year. They're led up front by Reggie Miles and Sean Carpenter, two big-time linemen. If those guys can handle their business, they just might have a chance of upsetting the mighty Lincoln Trojans.
And by handle their business, you mean handle Roman Amaparosa, which isn't going to be easy. Not to mention the other guys that they got going there. But that is going to be a tall task to be able to handle him. If they can, you're right. They can get their run game going, and they can stay in this. They can shorten the game. Less possessions for Lincoln's offense, which is absolutely stacked with Kenyon Nelson, with Jonah Coleman, great players on the offensive side of the ball. That is the real question. Can they also get to Nelson? Because he scrambles, he creates for all the other players on the team, and guys get open. And then once you get Coleman the ball out in space, he is a absolute nightmare to try to bring down.
Yeah, Coleman is a very special player, one of the best players in the area, probably one of the best players in the whole state. And Lincoln, another guy I really like on their team is defensive back Tim Thomas III. He really does it all for them. He makes tackles in the box. He covers guys out wide. He's a big-time playmaker over there. So Lodi's going to have their hands full, but this just might be game of the week right here.
Yeah, Christian Zamora, Isaac Bishop, Adolfo Sanchez better be ready to break tackles and get tough yards. And if they do, this game's going to be fun to watch. Get your popcorn ready.
Yes, sir.
Another big game for Gregory as they will be playing Turlock.
Wow, this is two teams that come in with explosive offenses. Turlock has absolutely been rolling through the first part of their schedule. Turlock is, for decades now, has been a dominant team out there. And Gregory better be ready to play them. But Gregory has a ton of talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, they do. Gregory has a very impressive quarterback, Cruz Martinez, who's averaging almost 250 yards passing a game, which is very impressive, especially in high school. He does it all. He runs the ball. He throws it. That offense does not go without him. So he's the key linchpin on that offense.
Yeah, definitely. And after he's done doing that, he also runs for about 80 yards a game. So That guy is a playmaker. Real underrated guy around here. Now, Turlock has a big-time quarterback in Cole Gilbert. He's been letting the ball loose all over the field. And his main receiver is, I'm assuming it's his brother, Cade Gilbert, who's making plays too. Then on defense, they have one of the best defensive players in the area in Ashton Bockham, who's also the backup quarterback. It's kind of interesting combo. Linebacker, quarterback. Do it all. To beat Turlock, you have to match their physicality. So we'll see if Gregory's up for the task.
And they're going to have to stop running back Josiah Gonzalez as well. That guy's going to get it done on the ground for Turlock. And then the defense for Gregory is going to have to step up. And Ryan Widergreen is going to have to lead that defense along with Isaac Herman. Both of them are going to have to make plays so that way they can stop Turlock. If they can't stop the offense, they're going to have to score a lot of points. It's going to put a lot of pressure on Cruz and those guys to make plays. Hopefully, they can step up and play big.
There's a chance for them to really come out and make a name for themselves.
Agreed. Horst, new to our lineup, we have Bayer against Lathrop.
Lathrop is a pretty talented team. They're coming out here to play Bayer, who struggled to start the season. They had some good opponents, but they have found their footing last week in a win over Los Banos. So they've definitely started to trend in the right direction. Who do they have to worry about with Lathrop?
They need to worry about Andrew Garcia running the ball. He's going to get it done on the ground. And then Luis Hernandez is the quarterback. He's going to be slinging it. So those guys are who Bayer needs to worry about, because if these guys get going, it's going to be hard to stop.
Yeah, and then on the defensive side of the ball, Lathrop's led by Josiah Pena, who had 9 tackles last game. He's a linebacker. He's all over the field. It should be an interesting matchup. Both teams trying to find their footing a little bit, trying to get some wins before the season's over. Should be a good game.
Yeah, and I think they're going to also have to watch out for Joey Sanchez scoring the ball. He's been scoring a lot of points. The Weston Ranch Cougars are going to be playing the East Union Lancers, Horst.
Yeah, they might want to call this one the Battle of Lathrop Road out there. It's going to be exciting.
You think of that all by yourself?
I did.
Okay.
Weston Ranch is an up-and-coming team. They feature a lot of athletes. They're putting it together more and more every week. They've become more and more dangerous every week. They feature 2 guys on offense that can score at any point in Rogelio Ruvalcaba and Aaron Jaimes Rodriguez. Those guys are both big-time ball carriers. And on defense, they have Namir Brown-Sanger, who's kind of a do-it-all, make plays all over the field guys. And those 3 guys are going to have to come up big to beat East Union.
On the other side, you're going to have Jonte Maggard, who's going to be running the ball for East Union, and he's going to be leading the charge on the ground. And, of course, quarterback Luke Weaver is going to be hurling the ball down the field to his open receivers, because they seem to get open every week.
Yeah, East Union is definitely a team that's two-phased in the run and pass game. You're going to have to be able to stop both, or it could be a very long day for you. That is a good football team.
Amir Brown-Sanger for Weston Ranch is going to be doing the stopping of those guys. He's a very big player. He had 17 tackles in a game this season, which is very impressive. And Nevin Gonzalez is East Union's big-time tackler. 14 tackles a game, Horst. That's a nice average. Here comes a big matchup. Tokay versus Tracy. Horst, what do we think about this? Tracy has not yet got a win, but they are still a good football team. Can Tokay beat Tracy?
Yeah, Tracy finds itself in the uncharacteristic spot of almost being underdogs against Tokay. You know, they've kind of dominated that rivalry lately. But Tracy's 0-3. Now, their first 2 losses were to St. Mary's and Lincoln. But I think it opened a lot of people's eyes when Lodi beat them last week. Tracy's been having a little bit of trouble with turnovers. They have a ton of guys that can play good football, move the ball. If they clean up those turnovers, they're going to be a problem for anyone. Tracy features quarterback Noah Deneau, who's a dual threat guy. He can move the ball through the air and on the ground. They have an all-around skill guy in Austin Hosai who can run and catch. And they have 2 good receivers in Jacob Strout and Tommy Chavez that can make plays. Don't let the record fool you. They're a dangerous team. But Tokay has some good players of their own.
They really do. And now they have a 2-headed monster at the running back position, because both guys got a lot of carries last week. Joseph Filippini and Jose Bravo both are just taking carries and making big plays. They are the reason that the offense moves so well against Linden. But Ty Donato did a good job at the quarterback position too last week, completing 9 passes, getting guys involved, and really helping that offense be successful. Where the real matchup is going to happen is on the front line. Can Tokay's offensive line create holes, stop Tracy's defensive line that is battle-tested, already playing all these really good offensive lines? It's going to be a good test, and it's going to be something fun to watch. If Tokay can get this win, it would be huge for them, because then they'll go into that game against Lodi with something really on the line.
Yeah, Tokay is really making strides as a program this year. Mm-hmm. This should be one of the best games on the docket this weekend. And up front, Tokay's just got to handle business and like you said, they've got to take on Tracy's line, and like whoever wins that battle probably wins the game.
Yeah, and also outside containment, Horst, a little bit is going to be a concern for Tokay. Can Tracy use their option game to get outside and cause problems? Sherman was able to get outside last week. If Tokay can shore that up, fill that alley, set the edge, then they have a really good chance of stopping Tracy.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
It's time for the Stagg Delta Kings versus the Bear Creek Bruins horse.
Yeah, this is another one of those games. The SJA always features athletes that can score points in a hurry. Should be exciting. Scoreboard should get lit up a little bit. I know Stagg features a host of good skill players, starting with quarterback Eric Hankins. They have Willie Turner. They have running back Gabe Benton. And they're led on defense by defensive back Richard Lockhart. But Bear Creek has some ball players of their own, don't they?
They really do. You're going to have to stop Charles Rogers. If he gets the ball, he's going to make plays. If you've seen the game last week, I know I did, and it was impressive to watch him getting the ball in space, catching touchdown passes. I mean, he really was hard to stop. And then Scott Adams leading the way on the ground, just bully balling, running over people. I mean, he was just taking advantage of opportunities that he got. Stagg's going to have to make sure they stop them. Now, Stagg, though, against Franklin, really loaded the box and just took everyone and sent them at him. And really played around, did had no down linemen sometimes, just had everyone standing up, moving around. So Bear Creek's going to have to be ready for that blitz.
That should be interesting. This is might be another game where whoever gets the most stops defensively wins.
Yep.
Because both offenses are potent.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely fun to watch. Look for Stagg to do some creative things on defense. And look for Bear Creek to try to get the ball in the hands of Charles Rogers. We got the Franklin Yellow Jackets against the Chavez Titans horse. This is going to be a good game.
Yeah, Franklin is the young team. They're getting better every week. I know they struggled a little bit on the scoreboard, but they're making steps every week, and that's what's important. They're fighting hard. They really want that first victory, and it'd be an interesting time for it to come against their rival Chavez here.
Yeah, they're going to have to stop Ruben Hooks. Once again, he went off last week and had another great game, over 100 yards rushing. He's going to be the one that they have to stop, and if they can't, it's going to be a long day because he's a big physical runner, and he will wear you down.
Yeah, Stockton record, Black Hat. Why aren't we talking about Ruben Hooks?
Yeah,
the guy is a baller.
He really is, and the quarterback, Brandon Wood, was completing some big passes last week as well, so he'll be somebody to look out for. He'll have some opportunities against Franklin.
Yeah, it should be an interesting matchup. You know the Yellow Jackets aren't going down without a fight.
And Franklin's quarterback is very talented. He can scramble and make plays. So I am interested to see what he's able to do against Chavez's defense. Horse, when you're talking about rivalries, this is an absolute big one. We've got the Amador Thundering Herd against the Argonaut Mustangs.
Yes, throw out the schedules on this one, the records. I know we've been talking a little bit about high-scoring arena football, light up the scoreboard offenses. Now it's time to get down and dirty and play some hard-hitting smash-mouth football with these two teams. This is going to be a dirty down, whoever wins the battle up front game. And Argonaut they're led by Captain Zach Hernandez and Andre King. And they have a very exciting running back in Mateo Flores that the Amador is going to have to shut down if they want a chance to win.
Yeah, and Amador's going to come out and they're going to play solid defense. They've been playing tough teams. They always do. They always have a tough schedule. But this game, you can throw out every other thing besides this. This is what matters to most of these kids. This rivalry is always nuts every year. And running back Cole Alian is going to be leading the way for Amador. He's going to get it going. And quarterback Gunnar Drake. Those are the guys that you need to be paying attention to because these guys are going to be making plays.
That running back on Amador is a beast. I saw the video.
He was looking good, wasn't he?
That guy can make plays.
Linden has another huge game this week. They've been playing big-time teams, and it doesn't get a lot bigger on your schedule than this. They're playing Sac High Dragons, Horst.
Yeah, the Sac High Dragons come in. This is not a matchup you would usually see. It's kind of a sign of the weird season we have. But you know what? Linden wants to play all 5 games. Sometimes you have to reach to play them. Sac High is going to present quite a challenge to them, both size-wise and athleticism. They have several over 300-pound linemen. They have a quarterback in Naaman Brandian that's been making big plays, putting up big numbers. And they have a 2-headed rushing machine in Lamar Radcliffe and Keyshawn Gooding that are really moving the ball well. They've been playing very well as of late. That Sac High team is nothing to sniff at. They're going to come. They're going to be big. They're going to be physical. Linden better be ready.
And Sac High better be ready for James Sherman. because Sherm has not been stopped by anyone yet. Big games against Lodi, big game against Big Valley, big game against Tokay. Right now, Sherman is leading the way. Quarterback Callan will help. He'll run some zone read stuff, and he'll get some carries as well. But it really all depends on how well Sherman does. And if they can't stop Sherman in the run game, Linden will be in this game. If they stop Sherman, it's going to be a struggle for Linden to stay in this game and not let Sac get away. So can James Sherman outrun Sacramento?
Yeah, this is a really interesting matchup. I can't wait to see what happens.
It's time for the Pittman Pride against the Downey Knights, Horst.
Yeah, this is an interesting game. Two teams that are almost always playoff contenders. Pittman comes in with a big physical run game led by running back Sergio Romo.
Yeah, he gets 247 yards a game. That's impressive. That's big time right there. Jared Moran is going to be throwing the ball for them, and so that's going to be nice. And on the other side, Michael Navarez is going to be leading the ground attack for Thomas Downey. And then quarterback Connor Stoddard will be throwing the ball, and he'll be, leading the way for them. And then on defense for both teams, you got Jordan Cole that's on Pittman. He's going to be, the big defensive guy to watch. He makes the most tackles. And Cortez Rush for Thomas Downey. Some real solid names, guys.
Yeah, it should be interesting contrast of styles. Downey usually keeps it spread open. Even if they're run first, they usually like to come from a spread look. Pittman's kind of in your face, physical. It's a really interesting contrast of styles between two very good football teams.
Yeah, I got to watch some of Thomas Downey's film last week, and it was very fun to watch. They're an exciting team. This is going to be a good game. Big Valley Christian will be looking forward to getting back on the field, and they will be playing Delta Charter Dragons, Horst. This should be an interesting game.
Delta Charter is a program in its infancy. It's only its third year, and as expected, they've struggled a little bit the first 2 years. They definitely improved from the first year to the second year. They're looking to take that next step this year. This is actually their first game of the season, and what a way to grab a win than against the team that won your division last year and put people on notice. That's what they're setting out to do. It'll be a tall task, though.
Yeah, Big Valley pretty much gets it done every year in the league. They always win. They're very good. And Delta Charter is going to have to stop that run game, and that's going to be hard to do. Brian Burkfield now will have an extra week to have prepared for them after their game last week against Millennium got canceled. So they will be ready to play, and they'll be ready to go. And Spencer Cox is going to lead the way on the offensive and defensive line. And he's going to cause problems. But it's going to be hard to beat Big Valley. They are a great team.
Yeah, I think Big Valley is going to be just a little bit too much for them. But Delta Charter is feisty, and they will come give you a fight.
And I'm curious to see what Delta Charter is going to do in year 3. Like you said, they've improved every year. How much bigger of a leap will they make this year?
There's only one way to find out.
Horst, another great week of games that we got to talk about, and we've expanded our coverage. We've talked about more teams. We need everyone to subscribe to the channel, like it, share it, get it out there so more and more kids get noticed. Keep telling us which players we need to feature so we can talk about all the teams and all the players that you want to see.
Yeah, let us know. If you have a player on your team that's being overlooked, let us know. We'll look them up. We've had a lot of fun so far finding guys that we hadn't heard of. Guys like Ruben Hooks, Cruz Marinas. There's several others that we've enjoyed watching play ever since we were told. So let the guy on your team be next.
Yeah, make sure we get the stats, that we get the film. If your coach isn't updating your max preps or your huddle, make sure that they do. That helps us be able to get it, and that way we can get your information out to as many people that we can. So, boom, Horst! Another high school cutback episode done.
Bow!